What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Batman Detective Comics issue number 1071. This one is written by Ram V, with several other artists working on this thing. You had the backup written by Simon Spurrier. And oh boy, was this an issue. This was an issue, all right. There is a lot of plot going on in this particular issue, to the point where I'm not going to fully describe it because I'll probably forget something, because just trying to describe everything that goes on in this particular issue is like trying to explain quantum physics in about 30 seconds. Okay, maybe it's not that bad, but there's a lot to go on, and a lot of backstory with the Orgham family. They're linked to the Al Ghuls, Vandal Savages kind of thrown into this mix, and you kind of are getting more into their backstories. It's just, some of it's kind of interesting, but then some of it's just, I'm kind of like, my God, we're still going with this thing. We're what, like 10 plus issues into this arc, and we're still kind of like setting up the backgrounds and all that with this thing before we, I guess, get to this big epic war, if you will, that's going on with the Orghams and Gotham, and just some magic stuff to kind of change the will of Gotham. Batman given a choice. Some things kind of mirror things from the past to the present. It's just a lot that's going on in this thing, and I don't think this is going to be a story that's really for everybody. There's no real you have Ra's al Ghul factored into this thing. You get a little bit more into his backstory. I will say this though, that the strongest compliment I can give is that Ram V definitely knows how to write Bruce and Talia. I think he's got their dynamic and their characters down to a T, if you will. As you can see the T there, like that relationship is tackled very, very well, like within this story, and just kind of how they play off each other in a way, and just kind of classic Bruce and Talia stuff. So that to me is the highest compliment I can get. He gets how to write that relationship quite well for the little bits that we're kind of given here. So I like that aspect to it. You get a brief cameo from Nightwing and Cass, but the rest of the issue, it's just this whole crazy backstory with the Orgham families, Vandal Savage, Lost Cities, powers, all sorts of other shenanigans, which, like I said, I'm not going to get into the full thing because there is a lot to really kind of explain with it all. But basically, we're getting to like this big conclusion with what they're going to do with Gotham and that. So there's that. And then in the backup storyline, there was that woman who was captured by Mr. Freeze, who's trying to figure out like what went wrong with the freezing process, why his wife hates him and all that. So he had this test subject. That random character who's shown up a couple times is here as well to kind of help her out. She's eventually freed of the whole situation, and the best part of this whole thing is she just roasts Mr. Freeze for all the crazy stuff he's doing, and she kicks him square in the nuts. So that to me is the most memorable comic book panel of the week, if you will. Somebody kicking Mr. Freeze square in the testicles. So that's funny, I suppose. But his whole reasoning for it is like, okay, yeah, I know I had you under my whole like captive thing, but I'm really not just trying to figure out what went wrong with my wife. I'm also going to try and figure out what's going on with me, because clearly I'm not the same man I once was before this whole freezing fiasco. So, and then of course when she's like, wait, maybe we can still help you. Oh, sorry, you're locked out. And then that's pretty much where the issue ends of this three-part thing. But yeah, you can see Simon Spurrier did that, and then Casper Wingard as the artist. So yeah, okay. That's kind of a brief rundown of the issue. Like I said, there's a lot of explaining with the whole backstory of more of the Orgham stuff, what went down in the past. You find out some of them have been alive for a really long time. They're looking for these magic stones. Vandal Savage is factored into the plot. Ra's al Ghul. It's just a lot to digest within one issue. It's not exactly an easy story to follow. You probably have to read this thing multiple times. But again, it's not going to be a story that's for every Batman fan. I can see a lot of people losing interest. And I will admit, part of me has kind of lost some interest. In some ways, it was intriguing early on. But now that we're 10 issues into this thing, we're still kind of going in, setting up this crazy mythology, if you will, with the Orghams and the Al Ghuls. And it'd be one thing if they were a little bit more interesting, but some of this stuff, it just kind of was like, okay, let's get to the point already. But that's just kind of where I'm at with this particular story. Artwork is quite nice. I mean, nothing really bad or downright awful or anything like that. And I did say Ram V is good at writing Bruce and Talia. Really kind of understands their relationship and the little bits that they have here. And I like how some of it mirrors, the backstory mirrors that of like what's going on with Batman and the choices that he's going to have to make. But I think as a whole, it's not a story I'm going to want to go back and reread generally. I've kind of lost interest as it's been going on and on and on and on. And I think a lot of people will probably feel the same way. Some people will definitely get really into this stuff if you're looking for this more operatic feel for Batman. But just with this particular story, it's just... with the Orghams and all their backstory just keeps getting added on. And again, that's part of like the interesting part is like just kind of exploring that. But now we're like 10 issues into the story and we're still kind of going and just keep adding and adding and adding more stuff to the point where I feel like I'm kind of lost in the shuffle of the plot here. But basically, like I said, it all comes down to Batman just trying to stop the Orghams. But I don't know. I'm kind of losing interest myself. There's nothing all that exciting that's really happening. Some of it can get kind of boring, to be honest. But that's just me. Maybe you feel differently than I do. Again, this is a comic that I don't think is really for everybody. But I think those who like it will probably really like it. But it's not going to be something I think that'll be more universally pleasing. I think this will be a little bit more, most people will probably just skip over this. Like, okay, just go back to some other stuff. Solve some detective stuff. This just doesn't feel as much like Batman, if you will. It's more of an Orgham story. And if the Orghams really were as more interesting, I'd probably be more invested into it. But they haven't really done anything that's really kept me all that interested. It just feels like, I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing. So it's a little bit plot heavy, and to the point where I feel like I'm kind of lost a little bit with what's going on. But even after reading it more than once, it just feels like we're still just we should be getting more to the point at this point. It's been 10 issues. Well, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Let's get to some more exciting stuff. But we're still kind of dragging things out. And in terms of the backup, I don't really understand so much what the focal point of it was. I guess to get to the point where Mr. Freeze realizes he's got to cure himself because of how the freezing has damaged his brain like it has his wife. And it did lead to somebody kicking Mr. Freeze in the nuts. That, to me, is the most memorable thing in this entire comic book. But was it really worth the backup for 3 issues just to get to that conclusion? I don't know. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm kind of losing interest a little bit in Detective Comics, what's going on. And the thing is, I have liked what Ram V has done in the past. I liked what he did on Catwoman. But in terms of Detective Comics right now, it's kind of missing the mark for me personally. But maybe you feel differently. Let me know in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, all that other fun stuff. And after this, I think I just have Lazarus Planet, Revenge of the Gods finale, and then I will be officially done with that storyline. Yeah, that to me is the most exciting part, is finishing up Lazarus Planet. So, all right, well, that's all I got to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.